After making the difficult decision to leave my country behind, I embarked on a journey to America as an immigrant. The cold bit differently here. It wasn't the damp, biting chill of my homeland, but a dry, crisp cold that seemed to amplify the silence of the snow-covered streets. This was my first December in America, my first Christmas away from everything I had ever known. Back home, Christmas was a flurry of familiar traditions, the scent of my mother's baking filling every corner of our small apartment, the sound of carols sung in our native tongue, the warmth of family packed tightly into one room, their laughter a shield against the winter outside. Here, in a small town in the Midwest where I knew no one, the silence was a heavy blanket. The festive lights that adorned every house on my street, twinkling with reds, greens and golds, felt less like a celebration and more like a spotlight on my own solitude. They were beautiful, breathtakingly so, but they belonged to a world I wasn't yet a part of. I was an observer, a ghost looking in on a joy that felt a million miles away. My journey to America had been a tapestry woven with threads of hope and sacrifice. I had left behind my parents, my siblings, my friends, my entire history, for the promise of a better future, a concept that felt abstract and distant on those long, dark evenings. My small apartment was sparsely furnished with second-hand items, each piece a reminder of my shoestring budget. There was no tree, no decorations, no familiar trinkets to echo the Christmases of my past. I would walk through the aisles of department stores, mesmerized by the sheer abundance. Mountains of shiny ornaments, rivers of tinsel, and forests of artificial trees stood in stark contrast to my empty living room. I'd watch families laughing as they picked out the perfect tree, children's eyes wide with wonder, and a profound ache would settle deep in my chest. It wasn't envy, but a deep, sorrowful longing for the simple, heartfelt celebrations I had left behind. I remember calling my family on a crackling, delayed video call a week before Christmas, the screen lit up with their dear, familiar faces. My mother, her eyes already glistening with tears she was trying to hide, showed me the small, fragrant pine branch they had decorated. The same angel I had made in primary school perched on top. My father, always the stoic one, managed a strained smile and told me how proud they were. My little sister held up her drawing of a snowman and asked when I was coming home. Each word, each shared image, was both a comfort and a dagger. The connection was a fragile thread stretching across thousands of miles, a reminder of the vast ocean that now separated our worlds. After the call ended, the silence in my apartment rushed back in, louder and more oppressive than before. I sat in the dark, the glow of my neighbor's Christmas lights painting shifting patterns on my wall, and I cried. I cried for the warmth of my mother's embrace, for the taste of her Christmas cookies, for the familiar cadence of my father's stories. I cried for the person I was back home, a person who belonged. In the days leading up to the 25th, I tried to immerse myself in work, hoping to numb the loneliness. I had found a job washing dishes in a small, family-owned diner. The owner, a kind middle-aged woman named Maria, had a gentle smile and eyes that seemed to understand more than I could say. She was a second-generation immigrant herself, her grandparents having come from Italy. She would often hum along to the classic Christmas carols playing on the diner's old radio, her voice slightly off-key but full of genuine cheer. I would watch her interact with the regulars, her easy laughter and warm greetings creating a pocket of community in the heart of the town. She saw the sadness I tried to hide behind a polite, professional demeanor. She didn't pry or ask invasive questions. Instead, she started leaving me an extra pastry at the end of my shift, a little something for the walk home, she'd say with a wink. On Christmas Eve, the diner was scheduled to close early. The snow was falling heavily, blanketing the world in a pristine, quiet white. I was scrubbing the last of the pots, my mind already drifting back to the empty apartment that awaited me when Maria approached. "Big plans for tomorrow?" she asked gently, her hands covered in flour. I just shook my head, unable to form the words to explain the hollowness I felt. She simply nodded, a look of deep empathy on her face. "No one should be alone on Christmas," she said, her voice soft but firm. "My family, we do a big, loud, messy Christmas dinner. There's always too much food and not enough chairs. I'd be honored if you would join us." I was stunned into silence. Her offer was a lifeline, thrown into the vast, lonely sea I was drowning in. A part of me, the part that had built a wall around itself for protection, wanted to politely decline, to retreat into the familiar comfort of my solitude. But a stronger, more desperate part of me, a part that yearned for connection, for a sliver of the warmth I was missing, found itself nodding. A real, genuine smile, the first in what felt like weeks, broke through my carefully constructed facade. "I would love that," I managed to say, my voice thick with emotion. The next day I walked to her house, a small box of chocolates I had bought from the drugstore clutched in my gloved hands. I felt nervous, like a child on the first day of school. The door swung open before I even knocked, and I was hit by a wave of warmth, light, and a symphony of delicious smells. The house was overflowing with people, children chasing each other, adults laughing and talking over one another, the sound a joyous, chaotic melody. Maria enveloped me in a hug that smelled of cinnamon and pine, a hug that felt like coming home. She introduced me to her husband, her children, her cousins, her parents. Every single person greeted me not as a stranger or an employee, but as a welcome guest, as family. The dinner table was a magnificent sight, groaning under the weight of countless dishes. There was a huge roasted turkey, a glazed ham, mountains of mashed potatoes, and dishes I didn't recognize but which Maria explained were old family recipes from Italy. The conversation was a boisterous mix of English and Italian, a beautiful testament to their heritage. They asked me about my country, not out of pity, but with genuine curiosity. They listened intently as I shared stories of my family's traditions, of the special dishes my mother would make, of the songs we would sing. And as I spoke, I felt the tight knot of loneliness in my chest begin to unravel. I was sharing a piece of my home, and they were receiving it with open hearts. After dinner, Maria's father, an old man with twinkling eyes and a mischievous grin, pulled out an accordion. The entire family began to sing, their voices rising together in a joyful, powerful chorus. They sang carols I knew, and they sang Italian folk songs I had never heard. They pulled me into the circle, encouraging me to clap along, and in that moment, surrounded by the warmth and laughter of this family I had only just met, I felt a profound sense of peace. The ache for my own family was still there, a soft, tender spot in my heart, but it was no longer a consuming void. It was now accompanied by a new feeling: gratitude. That night, as I walked back to my apartment through the silent, snowy streets, the Christmas lights on the houses no longer seemed to mock me. They twinkled like friendly stars, each one a small beacon of hope and connection. I had arrived in America seeking a better future, thinking that meant a better job or more money. But on my first Christmas, in a stranger's home filled with laughter and song, I discovered what it truly meant. It meant finding kindness in unexpected places. It meant discovering that family isn't always about blood, but about the people who open their doors and their hearts to you when you need it most. It meant realizing that home isn't just a place you leave behind, but something you can build again, piece by piece, with threads of new memories and new connections. That Christmas didn't erase my longing for my old life, but it planted a seed of belonging in my new one. It was the day a lonely immigrant began to feel a little less like an observer and a little more like a part of the beautiful, complicated, and welcoming tapestry of America, and that was the greatest gift of all. If you found this video insightful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the stories that have shaped our world.